Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at something I think a lot of us struggle with, frankly, and that's the connection between health and leadership. We're all busy, we're all trying to,
Mhm.
do a million things at once.
Yeah.
So how do we make sure we're taking care of ourselves so we can actually lead effectively?
Yeah, it's so true. And it's something that I think gets overlooked a lot, you know?
Uh,
We're so focused on hitting deadlines and, achieving goals that sometimes we forget about the most important asset we have, which is our own well-being.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm really excited about our topic today. We're going to be diving into the work of Coach Evan Messman and his company ProAttitudes. You can find them at proattitudes.com.
Oh, I've heard of him. He's like a registered dietitian, right?
Yeah, he is. And he works specifically with leaders to help them prioritize their health so they can perform at their best.
Okay, that's interesting. So it's not just about eating your vegetables. It's really about how taking care of yourself physically and mentally can actually make you a better leader.
Exactly. And you know what's really cool about Evan is that he's been there himself. He used to lead a clinical team, was constantly on the go, traveling across time zones. And he realized firsthand how much that was taking a toll on his health.
Oh, wow. So he's not just talking the talk, he's walks the walk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He gets it. He understands the pressures that leaders face. And he's developed a really practical approach to help them make sustainable changes.
Well, I'm definitely intrigued. So where do we start? Like, what's the first thing leaders need to understand about this connection between health and leadership?
One of the biggest things Evan talks about is this idea of the Energizer Bunny syndrome. You ever heard of that?
I think so. Is that like when you're just constantly going and going and going and never really stopping to recharge?
Exactly. It's that always-on mentality that a lot of leaders fall into. They feel like they have to be available 24/7. They're constantly checking emails, answering calls, working late into the night. And it's like they're running on an endless supply of batteries.
Yeah.
Like the Energizer Bunny.
Yeah. I can definitely see how that would be a problem in the long run. Like, you can only keep that up for so long before you burn out.
And that's exactly what happened to Evan. He was pushing himself to the limit, and eventually it caught up with him. His health started to suffer. He was feeling exhausted and stressed, and he realized that he couldn't keep going at that pace.
So what did he do? Did he just like drop everything and go live in a yoga retreat?
Not quite.
Yeah.
He realized that for leaders, it's not about making these huge, drastic changes. It's about making small strategic tweaks to your lifestyle that you can actually maintain over time.
Okay, so it's not about deprivation. It's about being smart and intentional about how you take care of yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where the connection between the brain and the body comes in. We tend to think of these things as separate, but they're completely intertwined.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, when I don't get enough sleep, I'm totally useless the next day. I can't focus. I can't make decisions. It's like my brain is running on fumes.
And that's the thing. A lot of leaders don't realize how much their physical health is impacting their ability to lead. If you're not taking care of your body, you're not going to be able to think clearly, make sound decisions, or effectively manage your emotions.
Makes sense. It's like trying to run a marathon on an empty stomach. You're not going to get very far.
Exactly. So how do we start to make those strategic tweaks? Like, what are some of the key things that Evan focuses on?
Well, before we get into the specifics, there's one really important concept that Evan introduces that I think we need to talk about. And that's the idea of the perfectionist maestro.
Okay, I'm listening. What's the perfectionist maestro all about?
Well, it's that inner voice that a lot of leaders have, the one that tells them they have to do everything themselves, that no one else can do it as well, that they need to be in control of every little detail.
Oh, I know that voice all too well. It's
Really?
exhausting.
It is. And it can actually be really detrimental to your leadership because it prevents you from delegating effectively, from empowering your team, and from creating a culture of trust and collaboration.
So how do you silence that perfectionist maestro? Like, how do you learn to let go of that need for control?
Well, that's something that Evan works on with his clients. He helps them to identify those limiting beliefs and to develop a more empowering mindset.
Sounds like some pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah.
I'm definitely interested in learning more about this.